Subscribe right now, smash that like button, and welcome to opening week, because the wait is officially over. The Toronto Blue Jays have finalized their 2026 opening day roster and the decisions are in. After days of sleepless nights in the front office, after 4 players traveled from Dunedin to Toronto not knowing which 2 of them would be there on Friday when the Athletics take the field at Rogers Centre, after weeks of discourse, debate, and genuine uncertainty that kept this entire fanbase guessing, it is done. Davis Schneider is on the roster. Spencer Miles is on the roster. Leo Jimenez has been designated for assignment. Chase Lee is heading to AAA Buffalo. And the Toronto Blue Jays open the 2026 MLB season with a 26-man roster that is now fully constructed, fully committed, and fully ready to chase the World Series championship that slipped away in Game 7 last October. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. Let's break down every single piece of it. Let's start with the decision that most of this fanbase has been most emotionally invested in since John Schneider first acknowledged the competition was real, and that is Davis Schneider surviving the battle for the final bench spot. Schneider is on this roster. Leo Jimenez is not. And the way this decision was made and why it was made tells you a great deal about how this organization operates when it is operating at its best. Because on pure spring training performance, Jimenez was actually the better player in Grapefruit League games. He hit .231 with a .541 OPS, which is not impressive, but it was still better than Schneider's .132 batting average and .409 OPS through 38 plate appearances. By the cold analytical logic of spring training box scores alone, Jimenez had the slight edge in the competition that mattered most. And the Blue Jays still chose Schneider. Because this decision was never really about spring training box scores at all. Davis Schneider's case rested on 4 pillars, and each of them individually is compelling. Together, they were overwhelming. The first pillar is his 2025 regular season track record, a .249/.364/.468/ line with 11 home runs in 206 plate appearances after returning from AAA Buffalo on June 1st. That is a 119 OPS plus. That is a player who was better than league average at the plate in his bench role last year. That is a player who earned his manager's trust through a full half season of contributions in favorable platooning situations. The second pillar is the World Series leadoff home run, not as sentiment, but as evidence of what Schneider does in the biggest moments. He does not shrink. He does not tighten. He hits. That is valuable information about a player's competitive character that no spring training performance can fully replicate. The third pillar is his defensive versatility. Schneider can play left field and second base at the major league level, which means he functions as a genuine positional option rather than a pure bench bat who requires specific game situations to contribute. When John Schneider needs a late-game defensive replacement in left field, Davis is the piece that makes that substitution possible without disrupting the rest of the lineup architecture. And the fourth pillar is the one that ultimately made this decision simple despite all the complexity surrounding it. Davis Schneider has 2 option years remaining. He could be sent to AAA if circumstances demanded it without any roster management consequences beyond the temporary adjustment. Jimenez had no options. Which is exactly why this decision, for all its surface drama, was not actually as close as it appeared to be from the outside. Leo Jimenez has been designated for assignment, and that sentence carries more emotional weight for those who have followed this organization's prospect pipeline than it might appear to. Jimenez is 24 years old. He signed with the Blue Jays out of Panama as a 16-year-old in July 2017, 9 years ago. He was a genuinely exciting prospect in the lower levels of the system, showing good instincts at shortstop, a solid contact approach at the plate, and the kind of athleticism that made evaluators project a future big league contributor. But 9 years in professional baseball eventually produce a verdict, and the verdict on Jimenez at the big league level has been difficult to ignore. In 81 major league plate appearances across parts of 2 seasons with Toronto, he slashed .148/.220/.197. A .301 OPS in 2024 big league action. A spring training in 2026 that did not provide the kind of evidence needed to override that track record and justify losing a proven player like Schneider to keep him. He is now available on waivers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, Colorado Rockies, Miami Marlins, and Los Angeles Angels have all been identified as organizations that would use his defensive versatility and his still promising contact ability in an everyday environment somewhere else. There is real chance Jimenez finds a big league home somewhere and has the career his talent always suggested was possible. But it will not be in Toronto. Now let's pivot to the bullpen decision, because Spencer Miles winning the final bullpen spot over Chase Lee is the roster move that is going to generate the most debate in this community over the next several weeks. And the case for why the Jays went the way they went is genuinely interesting, even if the outcome is counterintuitive at first glance. Chase Lee had a flawless spring. 0 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings, a 3.34 FIP, 4 strikeouts, and a 4-seamer that was drawing the precise combination of command and life that coaches prize in late-inning relievers. By every performance metric from Grapefruit League action, Lee was the clear winner of this competition. Spencer Miles had a 3.72 ERA and a 5.93 FIP in 9 2/3 innings. He allowed home runs. He had a higher whip. He was the unambiguous second-place finisher in the spring training competition. And yet Miles is on the opening day roster and Lee is heading to AAA Buffalo. One word: Rule 5. Spencer Miles was selected by the Blue Jays in the 2025 Rule 5 draft from the San Francisco Giants organization. Under the specific rules of the Rule 5 draft, a team that selects a player must either keep him on their 26-man roster for the entire season or offer him back to his original organization for half the original acquisition price, $100,000 in this case. If the Giants decline to take him back, Miles must be placed on waivers, where any team can claim him. The Blue Jays selected Miles specifically because they saw genuine talent in a pitcher who had only thrown 14.2 innings in affiliated ball since being drafted in 2022, whose underlying stuff, a mid-90s fastball with late life and a breaking ball that flashes above average, suggested a ceiling considerably higher than his limited sample would indicate. They cannot simply send him to Buffalo when the competition does not go the way they hoped. If he goes back to the Giants, the development investment and the scouting conviction that led to the selection are entirely wasted. The Jays decided they would rather carry Miles, learn what he is in a real major league environment, and accept the possibility that some of his early outings against AL East lineups are going to be uncomfortable learning experiences, than lose him for essentially nothing. Chase Lee will be in AAA Buffalo and will be called up at the first opportunity that presents itself. With a rotation carrying 3 injured arms and a bullpen that is going to be under significant workload pressure in April, the first opportunity could come very quickly. He has no options, which means the Blue Jays cannot send him to the minors if he makes the opening day roster. But starting the year in Buffalo with a clear path back to Toronto as soon as a roster move is necessary, which in this injury-depleted situation is almost inevitable within the first month, is the most likely path for Lee to contribute meaningfully in 2026. The full opening day roster is now set. Kevin Gausman starts Game 1 on Friday afternoon at Rogers Center. Dylan Cease goes in Game 2 on Saturday. Eric Lauer, officially moved from long relief into the rotation, takes Game 3 on Sunday to close out the opening series against Oakland. Cody Ponce, who had arguably the best spring of any pitcher on this roster with his 0.66 ERA and devastating kick change, slots into the 4 spot. And Max Scherzer, who stayed in Florida for one additional minor league tune-up start and is expected to join the roster by the end of the first week of the regular season, completes the opening rotation. Behind them, Jeff Hoffman anchors the bullpen as closer. Tyler Rogers brings the deceptive submarine delivery that no hitter in the AL East has a reliable answer for. Louis Varland provides length. Braden Fisher brings the swing and miss rate that made him a revelation last season. Brendan Little and Mason Fluharty cover the left-handed specialist roles. Tommy Nance handles the middle relief innings with his elite curveball, and Spencer Miles takes the final spot with the upside and the Rule 5 obligations that come with it. The position player group has Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first, Ernie Clement at second, Kazuma Okamoto at third, and Andrés Jimenez at short. Alejandro Kirk and Tyler Heineman split catching duties. The outfield features Addison Barger in right, Dalton Varsho in center, and Jesus Sanchez in left with George Springer operating as the primary designated hitter. Off the bench, Miles Straw, Nathan Lukes, and Davis Schneider round out the position player depth. It is a roster that is built to score runs, built to defend, and built to give John Schneider the flexibility to manage a game the way a championship-caliber manager needs to manage it in the American League East. Mark Shapiro addressed the financial sustainability question directly in one of his final press availabilities before the team headed north, and his answer was exactly what the fanbase needed to hear. He said the desire from ownership is to win. He confirmed the Blue Jays will be able to sustain substantial payroll going forward. And then he addressed the All-Star Game situation that has generated considerable frustration in this community, acknowledging that Toronto's hopes of hosting an Midsummer Classic have been pushed back by competing factors including the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics and the demands on cities that will be hosting various international events. But he said it will happen. Toronto will host an All-Star Game. The timeline is unclear, but the commitment is real. And in the meantime, there is interest in hosting a World Baseball Classic game at Rogers Center, which Shapiro said he would love and which would be a significant addition to the baseball events that Toronto can attract in the coming years. Baseball is back. The Oakland Athletics are arriving at Rogers Center. The Blue Jays roster is finalized. And the 2026 season begins Friday afternoon with Kevin Gausman on the mound, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the lineup, Rogers Center packed with a fan base that has been waiting since October for this exact moment. The roster is set. The mission is clear. Let's go Blue Jays. Smash that like button right now because opening day is 2 days away and this channel is your home for every pitch, every lineup card, and every development from opening day through October. Drop a comment below. Are you happy with how the Jays finalized the roster? Are you good with Davis Schneider over Leo Jimenez and Spencer Miles over Chase Lee? Let me know everything. Subscribe if you haven't already. Baseball season starts Friday. Let's ride this thing all the way to the championship. Let's go Blue Jays.